at 5:39. And let me read the mission. We are dedicated to providing single gender classes, quality instruction, individualization, and family community involvement in order to ensure students' proficiency. Let's see. The roll call, who's here? GC members, Jim Tokarski, Sue Steckity, Mary Merchant, Allison Henderson Smith, Karen Trujillo, Teresa Melendez as the board members. And we have staff, Lori Bachman, Katie Sanchez, in person, Julia Weeks, and we have Sam Gonzalez, right, Sam?
That's correct.
Who is sitting in for Dan. Welcome, everybody. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented in the documents folder? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 How about the minutes? Does anybody have? The only thing I had was the next meeting will be on of the audit committee on the bottom.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wrong.
It's on the 30th.
Yeah, that was correctly taken correctly. The one in the folder has.
Pardon?
The one in the folder is updated differently.
Okay.
I think that in the finance committee, we updated the date of the documents, right?
And how about the next meeting?
That was wrong as well. It's April 21st.
And now it's 28.
No, April 21st is today. These are last month.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but this is when is the next meeting? April 28th, which is today.
we didn't know that.
Take that time.
Did we think it was the 20th?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Did
We thought it was the
Well,
22nd.
We thought it was,
20%, yeah.
wasn't until we got it. Right, so anyway, if you make it.
Make what?
Do you want me to change that?
Should it be there? Or should it be?
No, it's pretty safe. No, it should be the.
But it was never going to be on the
Oh,
21st.
Right.
Right? It was
Yeah.
Never going to be on.
Okay, that should change the 22nd, Julie, and
Got it.
carrying the burden
You want to change it?
here. As long as we're talking about minutes. Why do we take minutes if we're taping the show?
The show?
I'm just asking, is it necessary?
Yes. Would we have time for audit purposes? They're not gonna watch our meeting, they're gonna watch that decisions that we made. We have to turn into APS all the time, just turning in for special ed policy adoption, or to turn in that, those that ones. So your homework is not a thing.
Yeah, no, I was so.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, what time did we start?
Any other?
39.
39. Any other corrections to minutes? Then, not hearing any, can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second? I'll second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Leave my own.
let's approve
I am.
the financial documents. Kim, is there anything we should know about before
Before we get into the discussion,
we get into big, just about documents?
they're pretty straightforward this month. Our bank balance actually went up. There's two significant POs in there, one for an educational assistant, and one for the purchase of printers, copiers, and the maintenance contract for that. I think that's it. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
May I have a motion, please, to approve the financial documents as presented in the folder?
Aye.
Who was that? Was that voice?
It was here, Melendez.
Linda's, okay, you get to do second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 You're on
All right,
Ms. Weeks.
our current enrollment is 197 K through fifth graders and 34 pre-Kers.
Took a hit.
Yeah.
What did you say?
197.
197.
Oh, one, yeah, but still, I said.
Keep her on track over there.
So we lost like 8 kids? There was no explosion. People moving, they weren't moving back anywhere. Oh, but they're going now. Not gonna stay until what? Yes. Okay, and 34 pre-Kers.
Correct.
And the lottery list
Do you want the lottery number for next year?
for 25, 26
Yes, so we currently have 10 lottery students
students.
on our list.
What we have in the in this year. Never mind. It's not important.
Okay,
What about the number of people that signed up again?
for next year? Yeah. Currently 208 K through fifth graders and 34 pre-K students.
Nice.
That's good.
Still a work in
For this
progress,
kind of-
but yes.
for This time of year, is that good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where,
That's wonderful. Then their kids who are returning and know the system.
Yep.
It's really good.
where do we have deficiencies?
Pre-K still, we definitely need more pre-K
course.
numbers. Kinder girls. Just like the lower grades really is where we need
Girls or girls and boys?
girls and boys, but this year that's kind of flipped a little bit where we have less boys in some of the classes, which is interesting, but we have more girls. It's kind of opposite.
Must take you guys. No,
It does.
we always had more boys.
Yeah.
We always had more girls.
Yeah.
Nope.
That was one. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, hang on to your hats, gang. Who wants to start?
Like 2 bars, so 3.
Okay, let's do the bars. Good idea. Thank you, Dave.
For a reminder. These are bars, right?
Yes.
Katie, do you want to come and pull them up over here and I'll gonna be your throw?
These bars. Okay, FED, FED, and EBD.
How do you see it?
Yeah.
As a small.
Oh,
There we go. Okay.
wow. So this is this year's budget.
Yes, this is this year's budget. Yep.
It won't pull it up. It's weird.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Hey, how can we move? Oh, that's the salary and expenses.
Do
Do
you guys see the screen that says financial committee? Or finance committee? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just that bar 17. There. Open.
So the first one, 17M, this is an SEG bar. It's a maintenance bar. We're moving some funds from general supplies and materials into our instructional assistance for special ed for $24,000. And then for our other bar is 29I. This is an increase bar for SEG of $18,259.68. And this is for growth units of 40-day adjustments. So we had projected how many students we have at 40-day, and we exceeded that. So we got a little bit of money for that. So that 18,000. Right now it's now.
Nice.
And those are only 2 bars for
Okay.
tonight.
May we have a motion to approve the bars as presented by Ms. Sanchez?
So moved. Karen.
Second, Sue? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Katie, anything else besides Joe?
I think that's it. Yeah. Can we just jump right in?
Okay, would you please? That's about
We got the popcorn ready.
Buckle up. Yeah, should be here, there's popcorn. Katie, please walk us. Budget.
Yeah.
There, for SY 26.
So there's some changes for FY 26. I noted a few things. There's going to be a 9.95% increase in NIMSIA, the medical insurance. So that will take effect, which is a higher cost. We talked about last time we lost our Title I funding of $53,651. And then we had a loss of our at-risk funding of $99,418.82. The 910 form changed this year. Some of those major changes was the at-risk funding. There's also a new units for English learners. Before that was kind of combined with the at-risk, and we got an allocation of $45,086.15. They did reduce the unit factor for the gifted program. We don't have a ton of gifted students, but it did make an impact. And there's also a legislative allocation at the bottom of the form, and that's not directly tied to like membership or anything. It's a kind of a one-time adjustment in there. So for the at-risk funding, they gave us a hold harmless token of $7,500 for a $99,000 loss. And tonight we're yeah.
Oh, what does that mean? Well, like when you make a change from one year to the next, you get like a something to mitigate that. So that we don't feel the effect right then, so you have some finance on it. But
7,500.
Yeah, 99,000.
You're saying, okay,
Mhm.
thank you. What I thought, but. For sure.
Right. So some unknowns that can affect, what we're bringing tonight for our SCG is we haven't received our pre-K or other grant awards. So if any of those are reduced from what we have this year, that would also impact our SCG and some of the costs that would need to come live in there if those are reduced. So we have 2 options we'd like to talk about that directly impact SEG and the funding for that. Either option, we're removing our additional hours. They've given us the freedom to reduce our hours that we were locked into from 12:48 down to 11:40, that we haven't been getting funded for since the K-5 change. And then both of the options reduce days by a few. So, Julie, can you pull up the SEG 4-day? The first, this is all tied to the calendar, but the first option that we're proposing is to move to a 4-day calendar. By doing that, we would be able to live within our SCG expected or estimated expenditures for next year. We'd be able to hold on to our cash and have up $15,000. If we stick with a similar model, what we're doing now at a 5-day school program, Julie, can you pull up the 5-day SUG? We would be cutting into our cash reserves by almost $205,000. So as you can see, that's not sustainable for very long. It would leave us with a cash balance of $609. Estimating there's not more changes, so we don't know about it this time. So the calendars would be different right now. How legislation is, schools are funded based on how many days you're in school. You have to meet the minimum hours, but the more days that you have, then you get additional funding for that. So, I don't know if there's questions about that before I continue talking about I can bring up the calendars too to what
Can
that
I
would.
clarify the additional funding for additional days? What would that look like?
So these are at the additional days. So if moving to a 4-day program, the calendars that are in there would be for 175 days versus a 5-day calendar, we would have to go to 190 days, but we'd still be having a loss. So 4-day schools have, they can access that funding way earlier. So 175 days, you can maximize the additional funding versus we would have to go to like 206 days at a 5-day school day to get that same amount of funding.
So then with the additional funding, would we add back some of those days?
No.
No.
So,
So it would strictly be the 4-day, the 175 days flat.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So 175 days, and that way we could still break even in our SCG with our expenses and still have like 15,000 left. But if we go with 190 days, that's still additional days, but we would be eating into our cash about $205,000 for 1 year.
Have we thought at all about like, is there any way to do a partial virtual option on that 5th day or something that wouldn't maybe cut so much into the loss of the days, but reduce staffing and overhead costs?
No, we don't stays.
So I guess, yeah, like you have to be either locked into a 4 or 5-day. I mean, I guess if you were on a 5-day, like staff would still have to work that to have a virtual option.
Here's the other variable when it comes to staff. Some of you guys may, or you might not remember, we're coming off of being locked into a certain amount of days and we were used to that funding. So the first step in looking at this is to try to get back to a normal amount of days. And not pay those staff stipends, because when we moved from, when we were forced to keep that 5-day or 5-week program, we were funded at 1/3 of the rate that we were when it was a separate program, not in its.
And that was the K-5 grant funding?
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess the short answer to how we thought of it, it would just be a different calendar. It wouldn't be a 4-day calendar. So, it's not ideal. None of these are ideal. I don't think we have legislators who understand. I'm going to try to do work this summer with some of my colleagues to help legislators understand the impact of what they're doing. There's no fix right now, but for fiscal responsibility, unfortunately, it might not be the best for students or our community, which we're going to do some research in the next couple of weeks between now and our next meeting in a few weeks. It might not be the best option. And so we're trying to, maximize what we can for, and still stay around, still be fiscally responsible. So
And Lori, what does that research look like? You know, when you say in the coming days, kind of looking at the 4-day week?
Talk to families will be, I need to survey families and what the impact would be. And kind of project that. I also need to talk to staff because we just met with every single staff member and talked to them about the impact of taking away that stipend. So we did something that was fiscally sound, but not necessarily like in the eyes of a staff member that might not have made sense, but I've been talking about this for the last 3 years with them. But what I was concerned about most is how did they hit them, you know, in the wallet.
Right.
We did not. Some schools are in a much worse place than we are. We've gotten some excellent candidates for next year for some of our staff who are retiring because schools are cutting staff. So in this scenario, we don't have to cut staff or our program. You know, in this one. And we're also not, the other advantage to this one is that we're not eating into our cash carryover. And so, you know, I'm gonna need to present this to staff and I'll do that on Wednesday. And then following Wednesday's meeting, I would do that. You know, and I do a survey with them too. Then we have just an open conversation at our regular Wednesday meeting. And then I would talk to families and be available to answer any follow-up questions or whatever after Wednesday.
And on,
What does, oh, I'm sorry, what does this 4-day model do to Friday's childcare?
So I've reached out to RGEC. So that question is still unanswered, although I've talked with RGC in the past about various calendars. Well, when we're at this point in the budgeting year. And they say, you know, well, whatever your need is, we can staff it for you. We just need to know ahead of time. So
And they're to come early on Fridays.
they come early on Fridays anyway for pre-K, so we dismiss at 11:30. So I am fairly sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I can bring that information back. But we do have to turn something in. And our thought, I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
Our thought is that I don't think we'd be able to go from the traditional thing that we're doing right now to a 4-day because this is more funding. And supposedly the unit value was set based on the unknown of how many people are going to take advantage of the extra days. I don't know how true that is, but I do feel like that could be used against us if we turned in the whatever 190-day calendar, not this one. If we turned that one, then we try to switch to this. I don't feel like that would change. So
That they would allow the change.
right, because this is funded, we're funded at a higher rate than the alternative.
and
I
Lori,
know, go ahead, Allison.
oh, I'm sorry. Are you, is your kind of gut instinct to go with the 4-day week at this point?
It is, and I'm gonna have a lot of work to do in the next few days. But yes, and if you asked me some Friday, I would say no. But yeah.
Sure. And is there anything that we as the GC can do to help you? It sounds like an enormous amount of research and work.
I don't think so. I mean, I think I have the steps in order once we leave this meeting tonight, but I do appreciate that. I do appreciate it very much. And yeah.
And I think, and just for some context, PED just released this information to us on Wednesday, and I have to submit this on Thursday, so it has not left a lot of time to, you know, have some discussions or survey families. But, you know, and also just for some background, there's, you know, an issue with legislation that they're funding based on days, and really the funding should be based on hours. And schools can get funded for the actual hours that they're in school rather than a specific amount of days. So hopefully in the years that will change, but that's been the pickle we've been in since K-5
right.
went away.
And that was our argument back when we had to get locked into our longer calendar. We had to add actually even more days. Way back when this all started, we met with the LFC and we met with the analyst and he completely understood us. And then I asked the question, I go, is it really the intent? Do you really want us to have more days? And someone from the PD said, well, yes. And I'm like, but for our community, we had a longer day, a shorter year, and we were still high performing. And so it's like, you know, I don't know. we don't really have, there isn't really a solid educational, like, I don't know, like, platform or whatever, for lack of a better term, coming out of the governor's office, and there isn't a really, it's just not the same anymore. You don't have a strong, sense of what PED's priorities are either. I think they're just going on whatever the governor's is, and that's not really, I don't know, I go back to the, I worked at PED. I think we had a solid relationship with the governor's office when I was back there. That was a long time ago. But I was there for 7 years, and then we went to a completely different like paradigm shift after that, under the Martinez administration. And I feel like that was a much stronger. They, at least if you didn't like what they did, at least you're gonna know the right answer. You're gonna know what you were up against. If people actually answered the phone call, we actually had people come out and visit our school. The secretary came and visited us. So this is just not those, this isn't those times. It's not gonna change now, it's not gonna change next year. So I think we have to figure out something that is workable. I think either calendar, we're taking a gamble either way. You use up our SEG carryover, or do we gamble on our enrollment and that we're gonna lose families and then, you know, have to hustle and get down. I mean, it's a gamble either way, so. It's your membership or it's your cash carryover.
One of the districts that I work in, on their 4-day, they do conferences and staff development on a few Fridays throughout the year.
Yes,
Is that a possibility to inherently preserve learning options for our students?
so on a few weeks, we have that. It's not a ton of weeks, but yes, we have that on, I think, three, four or five different weeks. It's not a ton of time, but yes, we'll have to do conferences on Fridays and some other things. So
And Lori, I know it's probably too early to even ponder this, but as a parent, it's just a curious question. Or could there be anything built in that would be kind of work to take home on Fridays? I just really worry about, the loss of that time over the course of time.
I mean, yeah, we can look at that for sure. I mean, if that's a concern, yes. I mean, and I mean, Allison, maybe we can look together at whatever results we get. And I need to, like, if you have any input on questions I need to ask families, I would really appreciate that too. You know what I mean? Like just what you said right now.
Yeah, so I think for me, the first thing would be, can they even make it feasible, right? Do we have the childcare option? That's going to be the first thing, because I imagine most of our families are working families. And then, we have a lot of kids on IEPs, right? And so are their needs going to be met? And, do we have any stopgap measures to kind of keep kids from backsliding educationally by cutting those days?
Yeah, and so we talked with our special ed coordinator, serves on our leadership team, and we met with our leadership team. It has Mr. Nunn, Ms. Sickinger, in our coordinator, and her thought about the actual school day is that it's going to work better for therapies throughout the year with this schedule.
Okay.
Also for learning loss, the really big thing about IEP kids is like when you have a huge break in the summer, that's when the learning loss occurs. It's not a 3-day thing. It's more of like, and I don't know what that threshold is, but this calendar would have eventually be 5 weeks off instead of whatever we have, like I guess looking at last year, this year would be the biggest, was like 11 weeks, right? Or something. So we're going from 11 to 5.
So we shorten the summer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, and we can pull up the calendar. Can you pull up the 4-day? The 5-day calendar will look pretty similar to just what we did this year, but the 4-day calendar, we'd go 2 weeks starting in July and then 2 weeks into June with Fridays off.
So we go back in mid-July, kind of like we used to when we were on the K-5 grant.
Correct. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
July 23rd would be the first day. And then June 11th would be the last day.
And the hours of the day on a 4-day would look identical to what we're doing now, except we'd start 1 minute earlier. So the hours of the day would be the same.
Okay.
What about, just lost my train of thought. Oh. I lost my train of thought, sorry. I can tell you that the school districts that I work with that have the 4-day weeks. I remember what my thought was. What is the absentee rate on Fridays anyway?
Thank you for asking that, because we were just figuring it out. I wanted to have that for you tonight. And we were just looking at that. My sense in talking to my leadership team, 2 members independently of each other brought up that part of the pre-K, the problem with dismissal early on Friday for pre-K is that either they don't get sent or they pull the sibling that's in a higher grade on Fridays. So my theory and my gut feeling is that Fridays are the day, and we have some attendance problems. And we have our attendance plan every year. We're trying, to get better every year. But the Friday, we believe, and we will bring up some solid data if there's any way to look at that to you. But our feeling is that Fridays, Mr. Nunn said that half his class is gone every Friday. So I don't know if it's a New Mexico thing or our school community thing or whatever, but that's what our feeling is.
Could you also explain the thing about this? I thought that.
Yes, okay. We did analysis on zip codes, and we're pulling from Westgate, which is far. It's a significant drive. We're pulling from very north Rio Rancho, which is like almost Bernalillo. Mostly. We're not pulling from we have some that are in this zip code, but not a significant number. So, possibly
East Mountains, you said?
East Mountains, yeah. Yeah, East Mountains, and then on both the north and south sides of the city, the far corners.
So Lori, I have to say, I definitely feel better seeing the calendar, because I often think that they lose too much over the summer anyway. And I was kind of bummed when we started going back later and we weren't going back in July. And also to your earlier question, I'd be happy to sit down and, come up with survey info or go through research with you if that would be helpful.
Yes. Is there any change in your sick leave?
I will say that I absolutely, from an employee standpoint, working in different districts, I hate the 4-day week. However, I do know that a lot of employees really like it, and many districts across Texas are going to 4-day because they can't keep qualified educators. It is a draw for educators as well.
Corinne, can I ask why you don't like it from an employee perspective?
Well, so I consult in school districts, so that just takes away another day. But number 2, I think it sends the wrong message to kids as far as, they've got to work hard and weekends are weekends. But I do see that and it's hard on sports. We don't have sports, but it's hard on upper level sports because those kids have to go anyway. So sports doesn't really impact us. I just hate losing that other day. And I think most employees work 5 days a week. I think we're sending the wrong message to our kids, but that's just my opinion.
So the issue we need to fix today is that to vote on the calendar, but thinking that the 4-day week is going to be better for us than doing the 5-day week and then maybe trying to backtrack to get more money. was one of the things you brought up, which I happen to agree with. I think that they're more apt to say, "Get it, that's too much money."
Yeah, and just so you know, the mindset at PED, the rule is not in effect right now, but PED, the rule that says you can't have, you can't go to a 4-day program if you don't already have it. That's, PED is appealing that rule. And then, and Sam, if I'm saying anything incorrect, please feel free to interrupt. And the mindset at PD and the governor's office is that they do not want anybody doing voting. They don't want it. So I feel like if we try to submit the
Who
5
doesn't want it?
governor's office doesn't, PD doesn't.
DED doesn't?
Then why are they paying this money?
DED doesn't want the 4-day week or the 5-day week?
4-day. That's why. So in that rule that has affected us so much, where we had to be tied to the calendar for our K-5 and get funded at 30 of the rate, that rule has been, I don't know what you call it, the legal term is, but it's not in effect right now, but PD has appealed that. So that's why we're allowed right now to do the 4-day week.
So if we don't do it now, we might not be able to do it later.
Right.
Correct. Okay.
I think for our specific situation, right now, it makes total sense. I don't like it, but it makes sense.
I agree with you.
So is there any more discussion? Does anybody have any other? Julia, could you put
Pull
the
them up?
people back in the
Yes.
boxes
Sure thing.
if we're done with the calendar?
There they are.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just have one more question. Lori or Julia, I'd love to hear your insight into what your concerns might be. I mean, I know it's not ideal, right? But what do you foresee the impact being on our school community by going down to 4 days?
My concern is that I don't really know right now, and it was such a short time. And like I said, on Friday, if you would have told me I was going to be in here saying this right now, I would have said no. I would have said you're lying. But I think that it's just the shortness of the time to be able to research it and like roll it out to the community. And you know, I'm going to do that between now and our next meeting. You know, and I guess I feel better about looking at the zip code thing and like parents driving in. I'll also feel a little bit better when we get that analysis on you know, what day are kids gone most. I'm not super concerned about learning loss over that day. I think it's more over the summer and having a huge summer break. I honestly feel like teachers need, I feel like they need a break. We get to this point in the year and like we've looked at education in a way that it's just burning people out because the stakes are higher. We're getting funded less. We're, you know, that sort of thing. I feel like this allows people to rest, but I never thought in a million years that we would get the leadership team. We didn't even say we're gonna present this tonight. We just said this morning, here's our budget. And then they said, is there anything we can do? So then we came back with them, you know, back to them at the end of the day. So I think, you know, that's a really long way of saying, I think we do need to make a change. If it's not this year, I don't know when it would be, but we've got to change the way we do things. We're burning teachers out. We have, you know, severely challenged kids that we're attracting, and it's very big drain on people's psyche and all of that. And so we have a really good way of dealing with it, but those people get tired too. And I don't know if that answers it or not, but I mean, I know you asked about concerns. I think, you know, I would just say the unknown is my concern right now. But I think that, you know, I met with you guys a couple weeks ago,
Right.
and I said at some point in time, we're gonna have to make some changes for our school to be viable. And so maybe this is it. Maybe just like happen this way, you know. And we don't have to get into our cash.
I was really interested in the number of kids that are returning. That tells you something about the school
Yes.
and what people think they're receiving here.
And if you look at over time, if you look at our, even with all the minutes and days and hours and calendar changes we've had over the last 2 years, we're still a spotlight school in the Expo. We still can bring it. And so I just think it's another thing, you know, another challenge that was not foreseen until now. And I think that we can overcome it. I think we have probably best staff right now. I've said that in the past, but it's really true. We have the best staff now that I think we've had in a really long time. We have really great teachers.
And being a spotlight school made us take another hit financially, right?
Well, yeah, because we're not, that's the other thing. And I sent you guys an article that was written by the director at East Mountain. And we often have similar things happen to us. And we're not eligible for certain funding because we're a spotlight school. There's many literacy grants, many, I don't even know what's going on with community schools, but you know, it's really meant for those schools that are low performing, and they're the ones getting you know, instead of replicating models that work, we're funding. I mean, I think you can do both. We're funding schools that are not seeing growth and aren't seeing that proficiency, you know, moved in the right direction. So we're not eligible for those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the need to fund those programs, but it just seems like they're doing so little to incentivize the hardworking performing schools as well.
Right. Yes.
Well, and I also kind of feel like another way you can present it to the parents is that they can make appointments for their children on Friday so they don't have to miss school during the rest of the school week.
The other, Julia, what do you think?
You know, I think there's a good pros and cons to both plans, right? And so I'm curious to see the parent feedback. That would be kind of interesting to see what parents' concerns are, if they're excited about it, that kind of thing. And of course, you know, my worry too is enrollment. That's, you know, vital to us to survive. And so, you know, it could go either way. And so it's kind of one of those things that we, you know, maybe it would attract more people. And, you know, we'll have to wait to see.
What about as a, you know, your
A mother.
Yeah.
as a mom, what do you, how does it?
Yeah. I haven't put much thought into it because like Martin said, this is new. And this is my last year of having kids here. And so for me, you know, it's not going to affect me too much. I mean, working here too, it wouldn't either. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't put too much thought into it. I think it could be good. I think I like the point of like you can have appointments on Fridays and hopefully not miss as much school. I think that could definitely help with attendance. Kind of restructuring kind of how we present that to families, that could be really positive. So yeah, pros and cons to both plans for sure. But I'm excited about this possibility, and I, you know, what this could mean for us, and hopefully bring new found energy and, you know, for our staff and all that. So I think there can be a lot of good from it.
How
And Lori,
about,
to piggyback on what Corinne said about appointments on Fridays, I don't know how many club sport kids we have in our student body, but as a club sport parent, you know, most of the days we miss are Fridays for out of town meets and things. So, you know, I could see that being a benefit for those families as well.
Yeah, and so we just pulled one person who we know, he's a contractor of ours, and he sends the school to a 4-day-week school, and he said we picked that school because it was 4 days. So, you know, there might be some reason. There, I think they take away the point.
how do you feel about working?
I feel great about that.
Yeah.
I have no complaints there.
Yeah, no, I think it works well.
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for staff, either of these calendars are gonna work 175 days or 190 and they're getting paid the same. So I think it's gonna be an easier sell for them and having to be refreshed instead of waiting for a break. But the student population has definitely changed in the last couple of years and what is needed and takes to be a teacher.
True.
I mean, regardless of the income level of our families,
Mhm.
we have some rough, challenges with kids. And, yeah, the other thing that, what's his name? I know his name, Tim said, about, at the end of the table here, said was, the kids, to look at the kids would get food longer, a longer period of time. Of course, you know, they wouldn't get Friday food, but with the summer being shorter, we could feed them longer.
So, Lori, I know when I was in early education, you know, we had a lot of low income families and we gave the option for like a packaged lunch on the days that we didn't have Friday to send home on Thursday just to provide like one extra meal. Since we are reserving a little bit of funding by going to the 4-day week, would you be open to considering something like that if food is a concern to the parents?
Yeah, we can see what we can do. I mean,
Sorry, guys, I have to jump off because I have another board meeting that I actually have to run. So I'm going to run. But thank you all very much.
Bye.
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 Okay. Do you still have quorum?
We do.
Um,
I counted before she left.
um, so we need, to vote on this budget, which gives us the 4 days, or do we have 2 votes?
Just,
Just one,
Just one on
we'll
the
need to
calendar,
decide
right?
if it's the 4 or the 5.
it's the calendar.
On the calendar we voted.
Yeah, which is essentially voting on the budget.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion about days,
No,
school week? Okay. May I have a motion, please? I guess what I'm gonna do is say, I'd like a motion, please, to approve the school going to a 4-day school week, which would increase the length of the school year, not the length of the days.
so moved.
And a second?
Real quick on clarification,
Mhm.
okay? The time off is less, but the calendar you just proposed was 175 days versus 103. So the school year is shorter days. But
Longer days.
Longer weeks.
More weeks.
Right,
Yeah,
but
okay.
less days,
Less days per week.
less days per
Overall.
year.
75-day calendar with
There you go.
4 days per week. Is that okay with you, Karen?
Yes,
That,
yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah,
okay,
it's more weeks, but less days.
right.
And so when you say a longer calendar, which metric are you measuring? Classroom days or weeks, right? And we're
long
going to,
weeks.
we're going to a shorter classroom day schedule.
But we get the same number of days.
We get the same.
No,
Same.
Or same.
Less.
we have 15 days less.
190 to
75.
175.
But it's adding, so it's less
It's
days, but it's
adding-
adding 4
Adding
days. of school.
those Fridays on the beginning and the end of the year.
Right.
So is it still really 175 or are those days not counted in that one set? You're talking 175 of instructional days, correct?
Yes. All right, we'll put that in there.
And what do we have now?
193. Currently. The other calendar proposes 190 days. It's so been a less.
So the motion is to move to 175-day in move to 175 instructional days with 4 days per week. That's all we need to know.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we have a motion,
We have
one
a
motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All in
sorry.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
And if it matters, Allison voted for the 4-day week. I don't know if she can vote remotely up there,
I don't think she can
but it
because
doesn't matter.
Because she.
I already put in, I have to put in
Okay.
that she left at 6:25. Well,
All
okay.
right, good
Audit
job, you
committee.
guys.
Audit committee,
Audit committee, Tim?
Meeting Wednesday, 1 P.M. Be there, be square.
that's the 30th, right?
Well, everybody can't go, but yes.
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Um,
Move on.
Karen, academic committee,
Nothing yet that I know of.
thank you. Lori, would you
Yes.
like to give us your report?
Well, I just like to say,
Oh,
we
wait.
did have a meeting on April the 7th over, electronically, you and me and Lori. And we discussed future, right, Lori? Would you say that? Yes.
I apologize, I missed that meeting. It snuck up on me.
So do you want, to highlight anything in your,
I think, it's all been really about the budget, starting with,
I'm sure it's been all about that.
the workshop, and everything else. Lots and lots of that. I also worked, we've been working on, so today we had our site visit, our financial site visit. There's always three, there's financial for leadership and special ed. Today was the,
From APS.
yes, today was the financial. And they're going to use some of our Katie's processes and procedures, and we've been asked to present to the APS charter leaders in fall on some of the things that we're doing. So I say all that to say this because we had a really long conversation with Roberta. And we talked about some of the work we've done over the last month, and that has been to talk with our admin team, list out, and this is one of my goals too, list out the admin duties and like who's doing what, and have a bank of those duties. And I came up with a format for how we do that, and it looks similar to a chart with all of these areas on my job description, and then we list who's supporting in those different areas for all the admin teams. So we will have that we can update. Then I pull from there job descriptions, and I'd also pull like more detailed I guess manuals or procedures for all the admin team. And I feel like, that's just been a long time coming, and I think that is like it's just very timely for like where we are in the growth of the organization. So,
And it has been very weird.
well, it's been a year that I've worked on this, but I've been here for a long time.
I know, but
We gotta do some other work.
that was your goal, was to start. And so you don't feel like it's behind. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, so I feel like all
That's emotional.
okay. Thank you, I appreciate it. I just feel like the stars are aligning for that work to be done now. And hopefully it will be helpful into the future of the organization. And I, like you guys know, I did work like this at the PD. I did work like this at Voices for Children, where we take the job description of the lead and what the board expectations are, and then you kind of like funnel it down into like what does that look like for each person to do. So we'll have that resource. I'm working on that. We have a really good head start. We took like a whole morning to work on that before the spring budget. But we shared that with Roberta. And then I don't know, is there anything else she said? I mean, she was all like supportive of us during that time. But anyway,
And congratulations if they're using part of your procedures.
Oh, thanks. I'll have to do a whole presentation and training.
Pass
so.
them.
I know, right?
I think we said, I think we just hit Jackson.
Yeah,
So.
by we, she meant she.
Yeah.
So anyway, and the other thing I need to say under this agenda item is that it's time for, not you. It's time for Lori's annual evaluation, and I'll be sending the form to you. I'm not gonna say
There's
this
still
week,
some
but
people on it.
but they're gone. They're still
Going
there.
on.
There's-
There.
There, so, and you folks, excluding Sam, of course, it's time to do Lori's annual evaluation. I'll be sending you the form. Don't kill yourself. Go back through what she gives us every month, and you can see her progress and blah, blah, blah. Okay, and Lori, you have to do it too. Self-evaluation.
Yes,
Don't spend hours. Because you actually do it every year, okay?
Okay.
Brian, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because we're both on the committee, but I haven't been able to meet with you. Can I schedule a time with you sometime, or do you have an email? Because I'm not an employee of the charter school, so how can I contact you?
You should have you have a school email, right?
Yes.
Are you in Bloom's? Did you
Me?
get Bloom's notices about what's going on at school?
I don't know.
No,
I
because
remember seeing the email about Blooms, but I don't know that I have it.
Julia.
Do you access your email through Coral?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I will resend the Bloom's invite and it gives step-by-step instruction how to join.
Okay.
But that's like a separate platform, but you can always email Miss Bachman. Is that?
Yeah, if you go into that Outlook thing and just put LO, it pops up Miss Faulkner.
Or LB?
Okay.
Lori.
Okay.
All right, I will check it out. Thank you.
On your personal email, before you were a GC member, there's my emails on that as well. It's just L.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. And then I can find Karen through that.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you can call the school or whatever is easiest for you.
Okay.
I didn't realize you were on that committee, so I will send you a preview of the thing I'm mailing out.
Okay.
Okay.
And I will, Teresa, I'm gonna put my personal email in the chat for you.
Oh, thank you.
Because I'm better at checking that one than the other one.
I hear you.
Can you look on the committee list?
Everything.
But we can't.
Oh, there.
Oh, we have. Which two?
Okay. Who exactly is on the support committee?
Thank you.
Mary Sue and, where is it?
Yeah, it's the second one.
Oh, duh. Mary Sue and Karen. So that's not one of the committees you're on, Teresa. You are on academics.
Damn
Yes.
it, and we haven't gotten there yet.
So, yeah.
So you haven't missed anything.
So you haven't missed
Good.
any. Okay.
All right.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's Karen. You'll have to look at it.
Governance committee. Karen, Linda's not here. Have you guys been working on anything
No,
since last meeting?
no,
Okay,
haven't, yeah, not that I know of.
Karen, I have a stack of stuff about this thick that I'm going to, I meant to bring it tonight, but I'll give it to Sue to give it to Melinda. Is that okay? And
Yeah, that
it's
sounds great.
ideas and things I've downloaded, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
this-
No news is good news.
do we have any new business? Anything else we need to talk about?
Have enough treatments.
Good enough. How about if we adjourn at exactly 6:39?
Look at that.
Look at that, including a 4-day schooling. I thought you said to me, man, that could be a while. Thank you, guys. Good to see you. Thanks for
Thank
being.
you.